boy! This is gonna be a stupid one. Alright, it's time for the Viking challenge. Now, if this is your first time seeing one of these videos, basically Dennis Tyrell gets together a bunch of YouTubers and we try to make the best Viking weapon we can in this case. So far, I've taken part in the Fantasy Challenge, the Chopper Challenge, and the Samurai Challenge. And like I say, this year, it's Vikings. Now, here's the thing. I find Viking weapons a little bit boring. I know, I said it, but yeah, they just kind of are. Now don't get me wrong, the guys I'm up against, they're gonna make some absolutely beautiful swords and knives and stuff, and you know, like, I'm not gonna be able to compete with that. And I have a bit of a niche on this channel of making something that's not necessarily like technically beautiful, but making something that's kind of stupid. So yeah, I'm gonna make myself a bladed Viking hat.
Shut up and sit down.
Well, so far I have made what can only be described as a new hat for Jesus. But yeah, now we need to work on these side panels. So it's time to get the dishing stump and some sheet steel out. You know, I kind of wish, when I designed this thing, that I'd come up with a design that used slightly less rivets. But there we are. "52 rivets so far, and I'm not done." But yeah, there's the helmet portion of this thing more or less finished up. Now, I've been thinking about it, and obviously I could just do the horns and leave it at that, but I quite like the idea of giving it a sort of gladiatorial faceplate. So I think I'm going to do that first while I've still got a bit of like sheet steely experience in me going. But yeah, this thing is actually surprisingly heavy, but it fits pretty well. Okay. I'm kind of digging that. I can't see that side. Right, better start drilling some more holes for rivets. Okie dokie, so there is the helmet pieces pretty much done now. This obviously hasn't been riveted in place yet because there's something else I've got to do first, so I'll take this off for the time being to make it easier to work with. If you look at old Viking helmets, they tend to have these big, wide, open, sort of windscreen-like eyes. Like I said, I decided to add these bits just because I wanted to make mine look a little bit meaner, a bit more gladiatorial. And yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with the finished result. But with that, I guess it's now time to move on to the actual horns. This thing's gonna look evil! Now, before I get started on the forging, let's discuss something real quick. I am sure that somebody out there is going to complain that, oh, this thing isn't historically accurate and actually Viking helmets didn't have horns on them. Well, firstly, no one likes you, and I want to put your head in a microwave. And secondly, I've actually found a piece of historical footage that backs up the claims that Viking helmets did have horns. So read it and weep.
Arvid, Freya.
What are those? The horns on your helmet? Are they simply decorative, or are you going to use them to impale people, or what?
Horns happen to be the latest fashion.
I mean, technically it's historical. It was filmed in the past. I think I'm going to be forging the horns out of some leaf spring here. And rather than doing like a nice high polish on them, what I'm going to go for, I think, is like a nice hammered brute to forge finish. It's kind of my go-to / favourite look. And I mean, you can probably tell that just by looking at the helmet. I don't know, man, there's just something cool about being able to see every single hammer blow and all the work that's gone into something that I just really like. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Let's get this down, chop it up, and start forging. Well, that didn't harden. Let's try water. There we go. Now we go in the oven at 200 degrees Celsius for 2 hours. It would make sense for me to do both of them at the same time, but I'm going to do the other one tomorrow, and I'm petrified of dropping that thing and breaking it, so one at a time we go. Hey. Here we go. That is obscene. Oh, wow. Oh, that scratches the scalp. Ow. Does look pretty freaking cool, though. Right, let's get on to putting the finishes on this thing. Not the best light in here to see it, but that is the helmet now cold blued and Danish oiled where I want it. And off camera, I've also done the faceplate as well. So just got to wait for the Danish oil to dry, and then we'll start the assembly. Alrighty, so it's the next day, and I've decided I'm going to use some of this braided cord that I used in the chopper challenge to wrap around the ends of the horns here, just to sort of cover up these welds, as it's a bit unsightly, and obviously with everything else being riveted, doesn't really match the theme, so we're just going to hide it. So I'm just going to use some contact cement, and I'm going to put a couple of layers of wrap on this. There we go, there's the 2 bits of leather glued and clamped in place, and I'm also just putting a bit of adhesive foam inside the faceplate, just so I don't catch myself on any of these edges. Even though I have sanded them, it's quite thin steel, and I'd rather not cut my face. So I've got a problem. For the interior, the idea I had was I was going to be putting these little rivets through on this side, and then I'd be folding the leather around. This is hard to do one-handed, but folding the leather around so that it covers the heads of the rivets, and then I will sew together the leather on the inside of the hat. However, despite being very thin, and despite the fact I allowed some tolerance for this to be fitted, my head don't fit in it no more if I put this inside. So I think what I'm going to have to do is zip off the extra material, i.e. this little bit of sheet steel, and potentially even grind down the inside of this piece here, just so that it gives me that little bit of extra clearance I need, so that I can install the leather and my head. But yeah, this is pretty late in the project, and there's not a lot I can do about it if this doesn't work. Right, those little minor adjustments actually made the world of difference, and I'm now able to fit the leather inside as well as my head. The only downside is now I can't put them in this way and fold it over, because the 2 layers on this seam is still too thick, so I'm just going to have to flip it and just make do with the fact I'll have some rivets in my head. But that's okay, not like I'm going to war. And here we are, here's the leather all riveted on. Time for another test fit, which would suck if this doesn't fit. Yeah, that's so much better than before. Nice. It does actually also feel really secure, which is good because I haven't even put the chin strap on yet. But yeah, it is very top heavy. Testing this thing is going to be fun. Coochie coo. And finally, I've just added some little Viking poppers just to secure this thing in place. And with that, this thing is done. So real quick guys, before we get onto the beauty shots and me testing this thing, it's time to talk about sponsors. And I know everybody always likes to skip past the sponsors, but I promise I'll be quick. These challenges are sponsored by these companies, and it would be really cool if you guys considered checking them out. And also, this is a challenge, so if you liked mine and you would consider voting for it, there'll be a link in the description and I'll pin it in the top of the comments as well. You should also go and check out the other makers because they have made some absolutely stunning stuff. But with that all out the way, let's do this!
Yeah.
Nice.